Hey everybody, J. Allen Ryker here. Today we're going to try something a little different. I have been itching to do some solo role-playing, and I decided that my first recorded attempt was going to be something a little more simple than trying to run a full-fledged RPG, and that I would try a solo journaling RPG. One of the most famous is the Wretched. It spawned the Wretched and Alone genre, which uses a Jenga tower, some cards, and a six-sided die. I've actually never played it before, so you're gonna get to watch me learn it. There's a Wretched, so this is on itch.io. There's a Wretched and Alone SRD, and then you can see that these are the ones collected by, I believe, the publisher of the original game. Although they're not all by the original game. Apparently, if you write one and contact them, you can get your game added to the list. So you can see here that the Wretched costs £5. Now, I got a ton of these through different bundles on itch. They regularly have bundles for charity, and despite the fact that I have not been playing RPGs for the past over 20 years, I have been collecting the PDFs to things like these big game bundles and bundle of holding. So I have a lot of stuff, and I am excited to try it, and hope that you are excited to come along with me. So this I feel feats to my strength as a writer. I do not have an easy time writing description quickly. I'm going to be speeding all of this up, but dialogue I can write quickly. Now, when I am recording an RPG game where I'm setting scenes and it's freeform, I think I'm going to write it in script format because I do write scripts pretty quickly. But with something like this, you're doing journal entries from the point of view of the person trapped on the ship. So I'm not going to obviously make a script out of that. Anyway, let's get into it. I'm not going to show the entire PDF. If it was free, then I would, but it's not. So you are the last surviving crew member of the intergalactic salvage ship, the Wretched. Adrift between stars after an engine failure, your ship was attacked by a hostile alien life form. The crew are dead. You are alone. You thought you had won. You launched the creature out of an airlock, and that should have meant safety. It didn't. The creature survived, somehow immune to the cold, empty black of space. Now it skitters and crawls across the hull of your ship. It seeks a way in. It wants you. Now it is you versus inevitability. Can you keep your life support system going long enough to repair your distress beacon? With the beacon activated, can you keep the creature at bay long enough to be rescued, assuming somebody hears your cry? Probably not, but you have to try. The Wretched is a game about human resilience in the face of overwhelming odds and almost certain death. It is a game about isolation, fear, and perseverance. You play the lone survivor of an horrific attack. You have seen and done terrible things. You have seen your friends, your found family, brutally butchered by something you can't even begin to comprehend, something that you were sure didn't exist until it manifested itself aboard your ship. You are existing on the edges of your endurance, high on adrenaline and fear and desperation. You are sure you won't survive this, but all you know to do is keep fighting. The Wretched is inspired by the music and films of John Carpenter, the music of Nine Inch Nails, as well as the games You Are Not Alone in This Life and You Will Die Alone Out Here in the Black by Auden Roswell. I also have to feel that it is inspired by Alien, because it sounds like the exact plot, but who am I to say? To play, you'll need a standard deck of cards with no jokers, a single six-sided die, a tumbling block tower, and 10 tokens of some kind, preferably a collection of nuts, bolts, and screws, but anything will work. You can play without the block tower if need be, though the game is better with it. You'll also need a way to record your game. Audio or video logs work best, speaking into a microphone or camera at the end of each day, but use whatever you prefer. So I prefer to write it out. I am not quick-witted enough to do it on the fly. I will then read it into the microphone for you, though. There are only two positive ways out of this situation, and each is more unlikely than the last. First, you could deactivate your distress beacon, survive long enough for someone to hear it, and then continue to survive long enough for them to get to you. Second, you could fix your engines and leave the creature drifting in your wake. You can fail in a multitude of ways. Okay, well, I'm going to leave this up here for the ambiance, and we are going to get started. I did forget to grab 10 tokens, so I'm going to be using peanuts. No, just kidding. I'm going to be using these cubes. I have never played any of these games. This is the first, and I don't know what these 10 bits are for, but I don't want to go dig rusty, greasy bolts out of my garage, so we're going to use these cubes. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to be working from a printout that I made here. These, for what I've seen, are sized so that they make very nice little booklets. Day 1. Salvage ship the Wretched. Flight engineer Jacob Smith reporting. The other members of the crew are dead, and the engines remain non-operational. Though ship integrity remains good and life support systems are active, I successfully jettisoned the intruder from the airlock, but it remains alive and continues to try to access the ship. With a little luck, I can repair the distress beacon and somebody will pick me up. This is Jacob Smith, the last survivor of the Wretched, signing off. So this is recorded in the book as your first entry. I did nothing special here. One thing that the instructions pointed out is that if the tower here ever falls, it's catastrophic failure of your ship, and you die and the game is over. Describe the way the creature moves across the outside of the ship, and then pull from the tower. Day 2. Salvage ship the Wretched. Flight engineer Jacob Smith reporting. While performing my duties, the creature constantly tried to find an access point into the ship. Just like in its attack on the crew, it is truly unyielding, unresting, relentless. I can hear it probing for weak points, jamming its claws into the outer hull, trying to peel something away. It's hard to believe I'm saying this about a living creature, but it's only a matter of time before it pries something loose and begins to burrow in. I have to get the ship operational before that happens. You hear a skittering, scraping sound in the air vents, and you fear the creature, or something else, may have gotten aboard the ship. How will you make sure you don't attract its attention? Do not discard this card. Place it where you can see it. This is the 4th king you have drawn. The creature has gained access to the Wretched, and it has finally found you. The game is over. Clubs represent the crew. When you draw a club, you are reminded of the people you've lost and the reality that you're sharing your space with their remains. The 4 of clubs is where did you hide while the rest of the crew were dying? I'm working 1500. I'm working as quickly as I can, because if I don't, the creature will find me, and the Wretched will be a lost sarcophagus. The emergency signal is broken. Everything is broken. No one would find us. I owe it to the crew to at least activate the signal before I die. I'm working as quickly as I can, because the moment I stop, I remember. I remember the screams. I remember being so close to Miller that I could see the light in his eyes go out. I hid in the freezer. The insulation and the cold must have kept the creature from hearing or smelling me. I don't know if it can see at all. It has no eyes. Miller came barreling into the galley and toward the freezer. He must have had the same idea I had. But the creature came around the corner after him, and I held the door shut. There's no way he would have made it in before the creature grabbed him. There's no way the creature wouldn't have ripped the door off its hinges if it saw him enter the freezer. So I held the door shut. Otherwise we'd both be dead, damn it. He looked me in the eyes, shouting angrily, then pleading, then screaming in pain. He never took his eyes off me. Eight of Hearts. What does it feel like to look at the sensors and the monitors and see nothing? How does it feel to know that you may never see land or light or have a conversation again? I have to rest all day. I worked all day, banging my head against the systems, and I achieved nothing. Nothing works. I'm afraid that my prying will do more harm than good. If the light support systems fail, that will be the end. I get the feeling this cold, dead ship will be the last thing I ever see. I don't have much to return to anyway. Carla left me when I refused to have kids. I'd only get to see 2 weeks a year. I'm a stranger to everyone I ever knew or loved. Some of the crew had kids. Who would do that? And why did they die while I lived? So I broke the rules here because I didn't get to the bottom of the I read phase 1 but then of the tasks and then didn't read phase 2, which is the logs. So I'm supposed to join these all up into one entry. We'll see. I kind of like going through it one at a time as if it's through the day, but maybe it will be more disjointed if I do it that way going forward. So we'll see what happens. I need to take some notes, like my name. Okay, 2. Kings stay out. When all the kings appear, the creature has gotten in, and I'm toast. The rest are discarded. One. Lucky. 8 of clubs. Which member of the crew jumped into harm's way to try and protect the others? And how much time did they buy you all? Day 3. Flight Engineer Jacob Smith reporting. This is pointless. I'm trying to fix systems when no supporting systems work. I can't even validate if what I'm doing is helping. I'm working blind. And the whole time, I'm worried that the sounds of my tools on metal will tell the alien creature where I am. It either has a great sense of hearing or some other way to sense vibrations. The tools on metal will draw it like a fishing lure. That's how Security Officer Dietz saved us. We ran down the corridor, the creature following after, dragging itself forward with its claws, lodging them into the floor, the ceilings, the walls, a spiral of ravenous destruction. Dietz peeled off. I thought he was chickening out, saving his own skin, betting the creature would follow the larger group. And he bet right. It kept after us. Right then, I thought about doing the same, except I was too scared it might follow me and I'd die alone. Then a banging started. Dietz had ripped loose a pipe the creature had knocked halfway free, and he slammed it into the metal grate of the floor. The rest of us had stopped, waiting for the secure door to open, waiting for the secure door to lower and the next to open. It turned and it followed the sound. We didn't stay to watch what happened to Dietz, but I found him later. I knew him by the patch on his shirt.
That one. Oh my gosh. Okay.
If I don't twist it hard enough, I'm afraid I don't think that it rolls. I think you can slam up and down, but I tried a spinning twist and it still gave me a 1. Three. Jack of Hearts. You spend a day climbing around in the engines, doing basic maintenance, and trying to figure out what needs to be done to get the ship moving again. You end the day as clueless as you began. Pull from the tower. So actually, I don't think that I needed to pull from the tower that last time. I was wondering because it wasn't very clear whether or not you're supposed to do it at the beginning, which I did. But then it wasn't very clear on if you did that at the beginning of it or when else that happened. It didn't say it happened at the beginning of every day. I just assumed because I hadn't seen anything else. So I'm going to skip this phase since I already did that once. Okay, so I spend the day climbing around the engines, doing basic maintenance, and trying to figure out what needs to be done to get the ship moving again. You end the day as clueless as you began. King of Spades. That's not good. Past few nights you've been dreaming about the creature. What happens in your dreams? Do not discard this card. Place it where you can see it. If this is the fourth king you've drawn, the creature has gained access to the Wretched and it has finally found you. The game is over. Jack of Diamonds. Okay, so I've done nothing, and I've been having bad dreams about the creature. You lose power throughout the ship, and while you're trying to fix it, the backup generator fails too. You manage to restore power, but you need to cannibalize parts from the backup generator, which will never work again. Pull from the tower. Do not replace this block at the top of the tower. Remove it from the game instead. Day 3. Flight Engineer Jacob Smith reporting. Another useless day. I proved myself right, doing more damage than good. I did no good, in fact, and a lot of damage. I managed to get not a single system running again, but in the process knocked out power. Luckily, the backup power started, but in order to get the primary power running again, I had to strip several parts. There's no more backup. If it goes out again, that's it. I need to get the beacon going before that happens. It's hard to imagine making it home without backup power, but maybe I can hide until help gets here. In my dreams, that's what I do. I hide. Around me, the crew fights and dies, but I hide. The idiots all throw their lives away until I'm the only one left. I've made myself small, so small I can hide in a pot or a toilet. At the end, when it's only me, no one else to distract the creature, I hold my breath, and then I wake up gasping for air. Two. Seven of diamonds. Many skirmishes with the creature caused a huge amount of internal structural damage. You spend a day tracking down all the issues you can and fix them as best you can. Pull from the tower. Ten of clubs. One of the crew died while holding a teddy bear his daughter gave him. What was the bear's name? Day 4. Flight Engineer Jacob Smith reporting. I made fixing the beacon my focus. By narrowing it down, I can at least fix the system so let me know it's working. The problem is that the beacon has multiple trigger points, and something is shorting the entire system. The creature caused so much damage as a rampage through the ship that I can't get to everything. Can't even check which are in good repair and which I need to route around. So I'm routing around any I can't see, and that's taking too long. I found the bear. What did Marcus say its name is? Sweet Love. His son gave it to him before he left. It was one of his son's favorites. He said it would protect him. I laughed and said Sweet Love was a weird name. He didn't think so. He wished more people saw the world like his son does. I've got Sweet Love with me now, in my tool bag. Five. King of clubs. As you were passing the officer's mess, you tried to avert your eyes from the carnage inside, but you're sure you saw something move amongst the bodies of your crewmates. What do you think it was? Do not discard this card. Place it where you can see it. If this is the fourth king you've drawn, the creature has gained access to the Wretched and it has finally found you. The game is over. You find something left behind by the creature, blood or a body part or something you can't quite explain. Describe it. Pull from the tower. While rummaging through the crew quarters, you found a tool you've been in need of. What was it? The next time you were told to pull from the tower, you may choose not to. Today, you felt like giving up. You couldn't summon any energy, and your tasks weren't completed. Return any cards you haven't yet turned over to the deck, and shuffle it. Pull from the tower. I remembered loaning my security system patch through to Geets. He'd lost his key card and needed to get logged in. It must be the stress and exhaustion, but I'm cursing myself for an idiot for not thinking of this sooner. With it, I can patch in and see which beacon triggers are malfunctioning. On the way back, though, I cut through the mess. People were eating lunch when the creature emerged. Now their corpses strewn about over tables and under chairs. I try not to look, but the trails of blood tell stories of who tried to crawl to safety, who stood and fought and died instantly. Then something moves. I go to run and trip over a headless corpse and scoot away. Then I see what it is. A hand. One of the creature's hands. I think back. Was it missing a hand? I don't remember so, but this one is still alive, clenching and unclenching. The nature of the whole is contained in this small part. It moves like it wants to grab and rip and kill. This thing cannot be stopped. Even if I were to take it apart, it won't stop. I can't make the repairs now. I have to sleep.
Oops, was not supposed to show those. It does not really matter. I don't know what any of them mean. 9 of Hearts.
Proximity alarms keep sounding because the creature is on the outside of the ship. You had to disable them. Five of clubs. You've been carrying a rifle with you for a few days now. You pried it out of the cold grip of a dead crewmate's hands. How did that make you feel? And do you think the rifle will be effective if you need to use it? While you slept, the fire suppression system was activated. What caused the fire and how will you make sure it doesn't happen again? Pull from the tower. I'm going to use my 8th to not pull from the tower. Day 6. A choking cloud of fire suppressant ripped me out of sleep. I rushed to see where the alarm had been triggered. It was the equipment dock. I went to check on it, and it looked like one of the cutting torch valves had been knocked loose in the chaos, and eventually the gas hit a sparking wire. A woman's arm held the torch. Her body was across the room. She had a rifle slung across her back, and I could see evidence that she'd fired multiple times, burned into the interior walls. I took the rifle, but if it had worked, she probably wouldn't have chosen to get up close with the cutting torch. Still, there might be reason to be able to end a life quickly. Oh, I had to shut off the proximity alarms. Of course, being on the outside of the ship, those are working perfectly, and the creature keeps triggering them. At least that means it's still outside, but I can't think while waiting for the next wailing klaxon, so I disabled it. I just realized that while I haven't been able to fix a single damn thing, I did just take another system offline. One. After you threw the creature out of the airlock, I spent hours trying to get through the windows of the observatory deck. The only glass on the ship. You fear the integrity has been compromised, so you spend an hour reinforcing them by welding sheets of metal over the insides. Pull from the tower. find yourself muttering, 6 of spades. You find yourself muttering a short phrase over and over again like a catechism. What is it? Day 7. As I worked on the observatory deck, I saw scrapes in the glass. When I ejected the creature out of the airlock, it kept trying to slash its way back in there. Logically, I know that it's probably sturdier than the rest of the structure, or at least has less to gain purchase of. 1. When the creature gets in, it'll be because it's able to start clawing through wires and pipes. Still, I spent the day welding metal plates over the glass. Being able to see the cold vacuum of space outweighed logic. It took hours to lug the heavy plates and then weld them to the point I knew they'd be airtight. I sat Sweetlove up to keep watch on the doorway behind me. And I started singing. Eventually, I had a whole little song. Sweetlove the bear sits over there. Sweetlove the bear, he has no cares, because Sweetlove the bear remains unaware. The death is lurking everywhere. Not one system fixed. Not one. With the climate control on the fritz, mold springs up in some of your food stores. You can't eat it, so you just seal that locker up and hope that nothing affects the rest of your supplies. Pull from the tower. Two of clubs. You found the journal of one of your crewmates. What thing from home were they missing the most? You gather together the bodies of the crew you were closest to and seal them in the remaining airlock, saying a few words of remembrance over their bodies. But you can't quite bring yourself to jettison them. What words do you say, and why is it so hard to send them out into space? Day 8. This place is going rotten. It's full of corpses. I went to eat and found the pouch of my food had gotten moldy. I don't know what's in the air, and I don't want to find out. I tossed it and everything around it. Food is limited, but I'd rather starve. I decided to gather everyone from the control room and some surrounding areas and seal off the rest. Most of them were in chunks, but a quarter of a human is still heavy. I try to think of them that way, as just things, but these were my friends. If you're hearing this, and you haven't ever gone into space, you won't understand. These were the people I spent day in and day out with. The people I turned to for comfort and for celebration. But mostly the people who fought with me to keep away the loneliness in the vastness of space. I dragged them to the airlock, a piece at a time. With my hand over the button to open the exterior door, I said, "I love you. I won't forget you. The world will remember you." I didn't think about it. It just came out, and I knew as soon as the words passed my lips that it was a lie. And I couldn't let the last thing I promised these people be a lie. I'm going to die, and if I hit that button, they will float in space for all of eternity, as unknown as any frozen chunk of matter hurtling through the dark. At least in there, in the airlock, they're together. I didn't hit the button. The only thing keeping me from welding the interior door shut is the idea that I wouldn't be able to join them if I did.
Big day. Okay. 6 of diamonds.
The sewage silo springs a leak. It smells terrible, and you fix it as quickly as humanly possible. Despite the thick hull of the ship separating you from the creature outside, you somehow know when it is near your section of the ship. How? When you launched the creature out of the airlock, you couldn't seal it again. Every now and then the creature comes back to that hole in the side of your ship, scratching and prying at the single internal door that separates you from the cold black of space. How do you react to this? Shortly before your engines failed, the ship was struck by a small asteroid that didn't appear on the scanners. Oxygen has slowly been leaking out of the hull where it hit, but you spend a few hours fixing it. The life support system keeps making an unhealthy grinding noise, and you don't know what the problem is. What will you do if it fails? Your comm system blinks into life, picking up garbled chatter from far-off vessels. It falls silent before you can signal to them. What were they saying? Day 9. I didn't really think it would be possible to add insult to injury, but today did it. The sewage silo sprung a leak. I can't even believe it. I fixed it and got sprayed with liquid sewage slop the entire time. Then an alarm went off, one I didn't even know was functional, to tell me that a slow leak of oxygen in the hull had reached the point that it would drain the reserves. I welded plates over it, with the creature prying at the tiny gap the entire time. From the outside. I know where it is, not all the time, but I can sense it. I thought at first I was just being paranoid, but too many times now, right after I sense it, I've heard it start trying to rip through the ship to get at me, for it to be a coincidence. Oh, and the life support system is making a grinding noise I can't even guess at. I don't dare open it up and start poking around. If it goes, I can last another few hours if I get to a suit, but why? I might just join the crew in the airlock and go ahead and open it. Floating through darkness alone is the worst thing I can imagine. Static, garbled speaking. Around here. What the hell was that? Hey, this is Flight Engineer Jacob Smith of the salvage ship the Wretched. Can you hear me? Logging off. They might be close enough to spot me. Oh god, I might be getting rescued. What if the crew told you all about a terrible dream they had a few days before the creature came? In hindsight, they were having a premonition of what was about to happen. Why did you all ignore them? Something happened to the lights when the creature was near your hiding place. What was it? You You find a way to distract the creature from its attempts to gain access to the ship. What is it? I can shuffle the King of Spades back into the deck. I'm not going to shuffle on that card table because it is not super sturdy and I don't want my Jenga tower to fall. So you're just going to have to trust me. Six of Hearts. Your scanners keep showing a large object that periodically disappears from the screen, only to show up a few hours later. Is there something out there, or is it a glitch? What do you imagine the creature calls itself? Smith here. I spent hours trying to hail the ship I heard. I assume it's a ship. I didn't hear it again though. But I kept seeing something appearing on the scanners. Something big. Then it disappears again. If I hadn't heard someone, I would think it was just damaged and glitching. But it has to be help. I kept saying my name over and over until it was meaningless. Jacob Smith, Jacob Smith, Jacob Smith, Jacob Smith, Jacob Smith. It made me think how ludicrous it is to describe my existence with a name. It made me wonder if the creature does the same. I don't think so. It's too perfect for such absurdity. Too pure. The creature seems focused on the tiny hole the asteroid made. I don't think it'll make it through the patch, but it could rip the steel entirely from the patch if it's strong enough, and it might be. I think about trying to flash the lights to get it away from the point in the hull, but then I remembered... Should we have past tense? I thought about trying to flash the lights to get it away from that point in the hull, but then I remembered flipping the lights out when I hid in the freezer. It didn't react at all. If it sees, I don't think it sees in the same spectrum we do. Maybe infrared. Maybe that's why, though I could see it and Miller right through the glass, it couldn't see me standing there in the cold. All I have to do is freeze solid and I'll be invisible to it. Wait. 3 minutes pass. The airlock that's stuck open. The creature goes there often. It's where I ejected it, along with... No time to think of that. The exterior door is stuck open, but I blasted some pressurizing air into the void, and it sensed the vibration and came scrabbling. That isn't a point I want it clawing at either, but it's better than an asteroid breach. Jack of Spades. The creature can survive out in the cold black of space, where nothing should be able to live. Is it coming into your territory to destroy you, or simply defending its domain? Pull from the tower. Day 11. It's in. It got through the patch. I'm going to the airlock. If you don't find anyone on the ship, and you find the exterior doors on both airlocks open, you know what happened. Either way, I'm not making it back. Jacob Smith and Sweet Love signing off.
Okay, so that was dark.
You see that catastrophic failure occurred. I pulled too heavily from the bottom of the Jenga tower and poked too much at the right side, I think. because it was harder for me to reach the left side and the back. Anyway, that made for a pretty good story. I will say that one thing I wasn't expecting was that we would see so much of the game. I thought that we'd go through a few prompts, but you can run through a lot of them before you get like all 4 kings, or I think there's another ace that is in there that we didn't see that I guess escalates things. So I don't think it has quite as much replayability as I had thought, but you could definitely approach it with a character with a different mindset. Like I had one and the guy just turned out, I didn't plan for it to be really gloomy. If I planned for it, maybe I definitely could come in with a character that's very optimistic, or a character that's really unempathetic. This Jacob Smith, he was kind of a coward, but felt guilty about it, you know. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. There are quite a few other more of these in the series that I already own, and I have other solo journaling games that I plan to do. So hopefully this will be a whole series. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed it. This is J. Allen Ryker reminding you to have a great rest of your day and keep playing solo.